Welcome to the Kids First Co-Parenting Podcast, the podcast for smart, intentional, millennial moms raising resilient kids after separation and divorce. I'm Dr. Karalynn Royster, a child psychologist, coach, and a mom. After thousands of therapy hours with kids caught in the middle of high-conflict households, I'm here to help moms like you do it differently. From peaceful co-parenting to total chaos, I've got you. Here we talk boundaries, regulation, and how to raise a great kid, even if your ex is beyond difficult. We blend science with real life, and as always, keep focus where it matters, on raising great kids. This is Kids First Co-Parenting. Welcome everyone back to the Kids First Co-Parenting Podcast. I am very excited today. I have my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Julianne Monday. She's here with us. Dr. Monday is a licensed child psychologist, parent coach, and a former early childhood teacher with over 7 years experience helping families navigate big emotions, meltdowns, and the messy moments of parenting. Dr. Julie is passionate about the intersection of brain science and attachment theory. Coaching work begins with moms, helping them understand their own anxiety, soothe their own nervous systems, and show up with more calm and clarity for their kids. Dr. Julie is a big feeling person herself, and she finds meaning in creating the kind of emotionally safe home she now understands she needed as a child. She brings warmth, wisdom, and real-life strategies to the table, and I'm so excited to have her on. Welcome, Dr. Julie.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Guest appearance.
I know. Well, who better to do it with than my friend? So I'm so happy to have you. Why don't you start with kind of breaking down for us, I don't know, where this passion came from for you? Why anxious moms and anxious kids and just why that? What's so interesting and intriguing about it for you?
Oh, I love it so much. I think I was a teacher for a while. I knew I always wanted to work with kids. There's something about kids that always I gravitated towards. And so I was like, maybe I'll go into education. And then I found myself as a special education teacher and general ed. So that was really interesting experience because I'd be, I'd be in my classroom as a special ed, and then I'd push in for gen ed and do some co-teaching, and you could see a lot of the different challenges. I became so fascinated with behavior. I became so fascinated with family systems when I'd meet the parents and trying to understand what is this behavior trying to communicate to us. So then I quickly found out I don't love teaching the ABCs, but I do love getting to know the child and like what's going on underneath. And then very quickly you learn, and you know this too, when you're working with kids, you're working with parents.
Yes, you are.
And so I started, I went to grad school, I started training there and realizing like the work is really with parents. Yes, there are so many great skills and things we can do with kids, but it's parents, and it's the parent who is bringing the child most of the time. And that is typically mom, although I do work with some dads. I just felt like I needed to figure out how to connect with the moms and really support and help them to understand they are so much a part of the dynamic. I love brain science because I think it gives you the why behind what is a realistic expectation for your 6-year-old kiddo and what is actually happening when we're dysregulated, mom and child. And then I love attachment because although it doesn't feel as like nitty gritty science, we both know, I think you come very much from attachment lens.
I do, yeah.
So much a part of that safety that a kiddo needs. I just love bridging both of them.
I think, I often forget that we both have an education background. All through undergrad, I taught preschool, and I just loved it.
That.
Yes, yeah. I love early childhood. You did kindergarten, right? Weren't you a kindergarten teacher?
Kindergarten, first grade for special ed. I also worked in autism classrooms all growing up is in the school district. So I would push in and do like summer school in autism.
I think that work has informed your coaching now and your work as a child, I guess either one, child psychologist or coaching. Yeah. How does that impact you, do you think?
A few ways. I think because it was so early childhood,
Mm.
well, so young, you realize like that is the time that kids are just soaking up everything and the sponge of everything. And then in my own personal, like inner child psychotherapy work, I realized, oh my gosh, this time is so important. It's so important for the rest of our life. And I don't do that in a scary way of like, oh man,
Get it right, or yeah.
now you've missed the window. I want parents to know that this is a really important time. This lays
Mhm.
the foundation of the brain and the
Yeah.
development for your child. And that's where attachment comes in, is it's
Yeah.
truly how do I teach? How do I support moms recognize that their safety is laying that foundation for their child, have that ability in the classroom as much. I didn't have the knowledge at
Interesting.
the
Yeah.
time. I could talk behavior a lot, but I couldn't really like sit down and get to know mom and understand what were her challenges in creating that safety and that co-regulation with kiddo.
Is that one of the things that it sounds to me like you're very passionate about, diving deep with moms to really understand where their anxieties lie and how that impacts children, and also what you had just said, the challenges around creating emotional safety. How do you do that? How does one do that? Like, where do you start with that? That sounds very overwhelming.
It is a little overwhelming. I
Yeah.
think start with like, hey, mom, please, like, come in. Let's chat.
Mhm.
Because that's what one barrier I felt with therapy. I don't know if you feel this as much. It's more common for us to have kiddo come into the room.
Then,
Kid is
yeah.
having meltdowns. My kid is having tantrums. Help him, help her.
Yes.
And then it's a
And
little
not even in a fix it way, just in like I'll put their needs before my own
right.
any day of the week.
We're just not really understanding, right? Because we're
Mhm.
looking at the behavior rather than what is it communicating.
Mm.
And unrealistic expectations. Why is my kid having a meltdown for 10 minutes? That's not normal. And us coming in and being, well, it is
Kind
normal.
of is, yeah.
Like,
Kind
this
of.
is
I mean,
actually,
depending on the circumstances, right? But like having that voice that kind of calms that a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So where do I begin with that? Just, I think, building rapport with moms in a safe place within our relationship so that there's not judgment, because we already work with anxious moms. We already work with moms that are very hard on themselves,
Right.
carry a lot of guilt. I think coaching allows me to build that relationship and trust where they don't feel judged or shame. That maybe
Mhm.
it keeps them from attending therapy sessions or like putting
Right.
themselves first in that way.
Yeah. Why do you think so many moms misunderstand the quote unquote bad behaviors? What do you think is really going on during those moments?
Nobody teaches parents that there's no parenting course before you have a child,
No,
right? I think a lot of it is new, and I have to remind myself that it's not just common knowledge.
it isn't.
A
It
lot of
isn't.
this. So I think it's just lack of access, lack of exposure to a lack of information in a lot of ways, and then their own upbringing. Because we
Mm.
both know once you get dysregulated, you typically go to what you had done for you.
Tell me more about that. What would be a good example of that? Because one of the things that I so appreciate about you, Julie, is that I think you translate brain science into very digestible, easy to understand concepts.
Mhm.
So this is actually like what you're talking about is a very sophisticated and very complex brain mechanism. But when it happens to you as a mother, it's it almost feels like you're out of control of it, I guess. Obviously, it's happened to me at times. And so I'm just curious if you can explain for our listeners a little bit more what you mean when you say that.
The mom that maybe had a yeller, maybe their mom or dad was a yeller growing up. So anytime they had a meltdown, it'd be like, go to your room, and they
Mm.
get sent off. Go calm down in your room with a
Stop crying.
They don't want to do that for their child. They're like
Hmm.
very logical when they're calm, saying, I don't want to be this for my kid. It was harmful to me. It felt lonely. But then they find themselves doing it, right?
Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
having a meltdown in Target, and it's now going on 15 minutes, and nothing's worked. So mom becomes dysregulated. Mom becomes overwhelmed, and she resorts back to what was done for her. She snaps.
Yeah, you do what
And
you know.
you do what you know. That's how the brain works. When it's dysregulated, when it's stressed, we go to what was done for us, usually, because we're not in our rational mind. And so that doesn't lead to co-regulation. Big word, but child borrowing mom's calm in that moment. That's kind of how I explain co-regulation. Then they feel guilt after that snapping. They say, oh my gosh, I don't want to be this parent. I keep losing control.
I ruined them.
Ruined them. I'm never going to be good enough.
I ruined our attachment. I hear that a lot. And I'm like, it takes so much more than one. I mean, unless it's something really egregious. But
Right. Yeah.
if you're thinking about attachment, you're definitely not ruining it after one outburst. But
That reminds
whatever.
me of kind of your clientele. If you come in asking if you're a narcissist, you're probably not a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or like crappy parents don't ask if they're good parents. Like they don't care. They're not asking. They're not up at night wondering if they're doing right by their kids. They are, I don't know, doing all sorts of things, but not that. They're not finding us. That's for darn sure.
So the point is not to be a perfect parent. I actually don't want you to be a perfect parent. There's
Too much pressure.
Too much pressure, but there's so much resilience and skills that are learned through repair and conflict resolution and apologizing and accountability. Like all those things are so beautiful, and that comes from an imperfect moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's okay to snap sometimes. And
everybody does. Yep.
let's talk about it, right? Let's understand what your triggers are a little bit. Let's understand, do you even have coping strategies? Do you know how to self-soothe? Do you know how to calm your anxiety when you're feeling that shame and target?
Yeah. And I think to your point earlier, if you don't know your own history and your own triggers, it's hard to do it differently.
There you go.
I'm curious if that's one of the ways that you start to teach moms about self-regulation and what to do in those target moments, those meltdowns. Is that one of the steps? What else do you add?
Yeah.
How do you teach? Everybody knows I should be calm. That's a lot easier said than done. So what are some of the ways that you help moms in those moments?
That's one of, and we'll get to my program later, but that's one of the modules. It's the first module in my program besides the brain intro.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, let's just figure out what some of your triggers are. Is it the public meltdowns because you're embarrassed or you feel shame or you feel judgment? Is it when you're overstimulated because you tend to be sensitive? We kind of talk about the difference of therapy and coaching. Sometimes we don't go super deep into the triggers and
right.
Like
it's not like let's tap it out and do some EMDR on that trauma trigger. Yeah. It's like you just say, well, I had someone that yelled at me when I would get upset. And
because that awareness is a big part. And then I go really, really, really far into how do you regulate your own nervous system? I don't think a lot of us adults are walking around with great toolkits because we often didn't learn when we were younger. We were just told to go calm down in our room alone, and who knows what we did up there.
But I hear a lot is kind of a double whammy, I guess, is that not seeing our parents regulate very well.
Yeah.
And so not only was I as a child struggling with my own emotional experience, but then I was watching mom or dad lose their minds.
Yeah.
And they weren't modeling how to handle anger and, you know, all the big things. If you've ever opened a message on your co-parenting app from your ex and felt your stomach drop, you are far from alone, my friend. High conflict co-parenting plays by a completely different set of rules. And if you keep trying to just be reasonable, you're going to keep feeling blindsided. This is exactly why I created the High Conflict Communication Bootcamp for Moms. It's a short, self-paced, 3-day training that will teach you exactly what to say, how to respond to toxic or manipulative messages, and how to keep your child out of the middle. You'll get scripts, strategies, and a printable workbook you can use right away, and it's only $19. You can grab your spot by following the link in the show notes, or go directly to learnwithlittlhouse.com/bootcamp and start today. That's learnwithlittlhouse.com/bootcamp and start today. Protect your peace, protect your child, and stop letting someone else control the energy. This is quite an overlap between our two kind of groups of women that we work with, because I see a very similar message around high conflict co-parenting, where it's you should just stay calm, just don't react, like don't take the bait. And that is all really good advice and true, just like you, like don't fall into the tantrum, don't like lay down on the floor and scream with them, you know?
Yeah.
And yet it's so much easier said than done when you're actually out in Target or when you're at the drop off and things are going really sideways. It is very difficult to kind of correct, I guess.
Difficult. And sometimes I feel like, I don't know, probably you feel this with your population, and I love that you're working with moms in this arena,
Thanks.
right?
Thank you.
We overlapped a lot in Colorado with therapy clients and high conflict divorce, but
Yeah.
you're the perfect person for it, truly.
Well, thank you. Thank you, my friend.
But I often find that the advice is great, but kind of harmful too, because when they don't live up to that standard, at least my mom's anxious, high achieving, want to be good enough, then they're like, oh my gosh, I keep hearing I have to do it this way, but I just can't. Like, I don't know how.
It brings in this way overused phrase, but so apt, about mom guilt, because mom guilt is just so pervasive. And the feminist in me gets real caught up in how we put all these unrealistic standards on women and working moms, and you have to be all these things that are really, really challenging. And there's a lot of noise on social media about seeming like a perfect parent. We kind of talked about that piece. And so this is an area where I think you really shine around mom guilt. Talk to me a little bit about what you see with your clients around that, and then how you support them in it.
It's a tough one.
I
Right?
know.
It's so bad.
Tell me, Julie, because I need it.
But I think it goes back to, we're not going to cure mom guilt.
No,
Yeah.
we would both be living very different lives if we knew how to do that. Yeah.
I know. So calling that out too. This is normal as well. In the same way, it's normal to snap sometimes. We have to practice letting it go, because that is a 10-pound backpack you're carrying every moment, every day. And that's making it even harder for you to stay calm in those moments. So we call it out first. We call it out. We look at it a little bit in the same way we look at triggers. What is the thing that makes you feel so guilty? What is that internal dialogue that is so pervasive? And then strategies. And it's a practice. Like, how do I do some mantras to calm my mind when it's spiraling about how horrible of a parent I am because I snapped for the fourth time today? And how do we acknowledge it, but let it go? So a lot of just acceptance and commitment.
We talk about the difference between shame and guilt. And I think when we're talking about mom guilt, we're actually talking about like mom shame. And we sort of shame ourselves. I snapped. I'm a terrible mother, right? Not like guilt is I did something wrong and or not good, however you want to say it. And there's something I can do about it. I yelled, I can repair. Shame is like I yelled, therefore I'm a terrible mother. And those are some sticky differences.
Yeah. And it's so different. It actually makes me think a little bit more of how it's necessary to talk about both of those, because maybe it's more mom shame that we're talking about. I hear a lot of mom shame.
I think you're right, because when people are talking about mom guilt, it's often mom shame, because it's not usually something they can actually do anything about.
No.
But it's so internal.
It's internal, and it's similar to how I talk a lot about what's a realistic expectation for your kiddo. It's almost a parallel process, right? It's experience of like, we're putting unrealistic expectations on our 5-year-old, and we're putting unrealistic expectations on ourselves.
Yes.
as mom,
Yes.
what is an appropriate expectation for you
Hmm.
to target to support your kiddo? Because
Yeah.
yours is like out of this world gold star, right? Like it's unrealistic.
Yeah. Do you find that when you're able to coach clients and kind of talk and walk along beside them as they sort through some of this stuff, that they have, I don't know if I want to say an easier time, but it helps them to let go of some of that guilt a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My moms tend to love mantra work. That is a
Oh, I
very
love a good mantra.
yeah. So I find that that really resonates with a lot of moms too, and kind of soothing themselves before bed. Mom guilt, mom shame
Hmm.
tends to like really creep in at night, right? When
Why do you think that is?
because you're reflecting on the day, there's suddenly space. As we know, anxiety loves some space. Your kids are in bed, you're laying in bed, you're trying to fall asleep, all those thoughts kind of come in. So
Mm,
really, we even like pinpoint when is those guilt spirals coming, and what do we do? How do we build a routine for you, or a strategy or a plan to soothe yourself in that
yeah.
moment? Um,
Yeah.
I've said that's been very, very helpful to identify.
And I think having your trusted voice, right? It's not just some random post on Instagram. It's like a teacher, a psychologist, like someone who does this for a living is saying to you, like, no, that's that happens. That's pretty normal. Or it must feel so reassuring. That's my take on one of the things you offer.
And I think sometimes for the first time, they're able to share about it and not just have
Mhm.
it inside.
Yeah, just spiraling, just banging around up there.
And I imagine that's so relevant for your population too. Like, oh, I can actually talk about this a little bit and not have it just swirl internally
Hmm.
constantly. 'Cause
Hmm.
that also leads to shame, right? When you're
Yeah, I mean,
one,
last time you and I had a conversation, which is on YouTube, by the way, if y'all want to see
like,
it. There's some
yeah.
fun parts where I drop the camera. There's all kinds of good stuff. But we had talked about mom guilt with co-parenting moms and how the the guilt comes in so strong and so heavy with how you might have handled things or not handled things well, but also around these decisions that parents have to make, whether it's marriage and relationships or schools or financial stuff or working or not working, that moms just shame themselves for. If I hadn't asked for this divorce, we wouldn't be in this situation. This kind of narrative that it does help to have an outside person that's like, yeah, but you, it might be a whole lot worse if if you had done it that way. Or like, yeah, of course you have to feed your family, you have to work.
How do you tackle that shame guilt? Because I imagine that's so big. I know that's so big in your population because it's a choice, right? A lot of
Yeah.
time feels like a
Yeah.
choice to them.
I talk a lot about how and I do this with a lot of therapy clients as well, but this kind of cognitive restructuring in a fancy way of saying it, but that like there's no good or bad choice. There's just the best choice you can make at the time.
Mhm.
And yes, there are always going to be hard parts of a divorce and a separation. There are going to be moments when you're like, what did I do? Right. But if we can, and people do come out better on the other side sometimes, or at least having evolved through their healing and through themselves. And so I just try to release it with changing the way people think about the choices they make. In some ways, it's easier when it was like a really bad relationship. Because then
Right.
it's like, well, yeah, girl, you had to get out. Like, what were you going to do? Stay there and continue to be emotionally abused? Like, duh. That's not good for your kid to see. So that's easier, I think, sometimes than when it's like, we just fell out of love or we just grew apart or I just knew I wanted something different in my life. That I think it's much more complicated and more sticky. And
Yeah.
often it's a therapy conversation,
Hmm.
to be quite honest, which is done outside of coaching.
Right. Yeah, because it's not as jarring. It's not as
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I was going to say that one of the resources that you offer that we will link in our show notes is about mom guilt. Can you tell us a little bit about that guide?
Yes, it's the first one I created because I just felt like, yes,
This is
mom.
everywhere. Yes.
And they're like, I want strategies to help calm my kid down. And I have one of those for a freebie. But I
Uh-huh.
was like, we can't even get to that part until we address mom guilt a lot of times
Yes. Yes.
because there's tons of strategies out there. But I just kept feeling like you're not even able to implement it yet because you're dysregulated in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
mental with that shame guilt. 3 strategies on how to release that mom guilt. And again, not a cure, but
Yeah.
it's a practice, right?
Are you stuck in a high conflict co parenting situation? The Best Interest app uses proven techniques endorsed by Dr. Ramani herself to reduce conflict and protect your peace. Join thousands of co parents finding relief. Get 22% off a yearly subscription with code LittleHouse22. Download Best Interest from the App Store or the Play Store today. Something to get you started on this
Maybe get you
journey.
started. It's something to get you a little bit more comfortable looking at guilt, observing it, and then a little bit. I do some cognitive, but I like to do the body too. I believe
Oh,
so
I
much
love
in
that.
body work of like, let's regulate the nervous system through body strategy.
Mhm. When you say body work, are you talking about breath work and movement? Tell me what you mean by that.
I do a lot of breath work. I don't think you can bypass how good
You
a
really can't. Yeah.
deep
Yeah.
breathing is. I know people roll their eyes at us when we're
Yeah.
like, maybe we should breathe.
Yeah. It's a trope because it works.
It
That's why everybody's talking about breathing
I know.
because it's effective. Yeah.
I do some visualization. I
Oh, I
do
love that.
love a good like parasympathetic. I know this is jargony, but vagus nerve. I don't know. I've just gotten so into how do I relax my body and my mind will follow.
Oh,
The same
beautiful.
way, how do I relax my mind and my body will follow? I think there's such beauty in like, let's just tackle the body work and the mind will follow.
Great entry point. You teach moms a lot around how to do both those things, and they kind of will come hand in hand. Yeah.
Yes.
And then out of that flows regulation to your kid,
And
right?
you modeling,
Yeah.
right? And then I talk about why modeling's so important with the brain of mirror neurons. So I really, I don't know. I'm just so passionate and I love so much how my program and how I kind of conceptualize bridges both of those.
Yes.
Don't know how you talk about the strategies in your calm without sort of letting you know, oh, this is how the brain works. Like your kid doesn't have to even do the deep breathing. If he sees you doing the deep breathing, there's
Yeah.
happening.
Magic. That's a great segue for us, Dr. Monday. Like, tell me a little bit about the program. It's called Wired to Connect, right?
Wired
And
to
I'm
connect.
dying to hear about it. Tell me about it.
Wired to connect. So it's a 4-month, although when I launch it, I'll have a beta group and there's a couple additionals for being a part of the beta group. So 4 months, we learn a lot about the brain, but in a digestible way. We learn
Mhm.
a lot about strategies of self-soothing for mom and for kiddo, right? So I do a very adult module so that they can build their toolkits. And then I do the kid version
Mhm.
so that they can begin teaching their little ones how to regulate. And then tons of strategies, um, talking about why transitions are stressful, what does predictability feel like, the importance of safety and just validating. So a little bit of that, a lot more about the brain.
Is there group coaching involved or access to you?
Yes.
Okay, tell me about that part.
Once a week group calls.
Amazing.
And then again, for that beta group, I'm offering one-on-one too as like
Ooh,
extra incentive. Do 2 30-minute one-on-one with me where we can get nitty-gritty. Although you probably, I don't even think it's needed a lot of times because the group calls are so powerful.
that's what I have found too, is there's something so powerful about a group of women, mothers joining together and talking through whatever is happening. I think that's what my group members love the most,
Yeah, they do.
honestly.
It's the
Yeah,
community, and with that, I have a VIP Facebook group. I have a free Facebook group, which we'll link to because I do a ton of Facebook Lives. I offer so many things each day, like mantras, toolbox kit stuff. So we're
amazing.
a lot of goodies in that freebie or the free group. But my VIP group will be a little bit different, right? We'll have like a much smaller community and where we can dialogue a little bit deeper throughout the week. So
Yeah.
another level.
What an amazing value that would be. Like when my kids were young, to be able to have a place where I could just be like, I don't know what to do here, where you could put it in and have like a coach tell you, this is what I think you needed to do, what would have helped your kid in the moment, or this is totally normal, Karalynn, calm down, would be just so valuable.
So
And
that
again, we will link that private Facebook group, we'll link the program as well. And then that guide that we were talking about, the mom guilt guide, I am certain my listeners are going to want to gobble that up as well. Who is your group really for? Who would be a good fit? Because I imagine me being like your hype woman, I'm like, everybody should be in this. But I also know that you have sort of this like sweet spot that's really value driven for you around what kind of moms you love working with. So tell me who would be a good fit.
I think a good fit would be anxious moms, but they're very growth minded. They're dedicated to growing. I'm kind of putting it 5 to 12-year-olds, although I'm not concrete on if a 4-year-old mom wants to come in.
Right, right. Or if you have multiple kiddos, if you have
Right.
a
Right.
3-year-old and an 8-year-old, it would be fine.
Totally fine. And so anxious moms of 5 to 12-year-old kids who their kids are typically big feeling, sensitive little ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just ready to ditch the mom guilt, improve their confidence, and reduce the meltdowns so that they can a stronger connection with their kiddo.
Yeah. And I'm assuming by meltdowns, you mean some of these big feelings like tantrums, screaming, crying, that kind of stuff. But I can also see this being useful for the kids that have more internalized meltdowns, crying, shutting down, retreating a little bit. Is that
Right.
the case? Okay.
Anything that, I mean, as you know, it manifests differently depending on
Yeah. Yeah.
but
That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
Yeah.
we talk a lot about big feeling sensitivity and not in a bad way. It's a beautiful thing, but I
It
think
is a beautiful thing. I mean, look at you. You're a testament to that. You're a deeply feeling person. And it's like your superpower, you know?
I love it. I love these kiddos that just they feel.
Well, that's why you're so uniquely positioned to be doing the work you're doing, is because you've seen it in multiple facets. You're highly, highly trained. Who better than a child psychologist, right? And you have this like personal experience as well. I loved in your bio and you said, I just want to be the person I needed. And that's exactly my ethos as well.
Isn't
So,
that interesting that we gravitate towards like almost
uh-huh.
soothing our inner child still with
Oh,
our
yeah.
the
Yeah.
passion lies, or why we're so deeply attached to our populations and our program and our coaching. Yeah.
It's interesting and it's beautiful. I'm
I
proud of us. I'm proud of us. So.
like it.
All right, my dear friend. Again, everybody, I will link all those great resources for you. We'll also link all the social profiles where you can find Dr. Monday. If you're struggling to connect with her and you want to, you can also reach out to me and I can put you in touch with her as well. So thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Kids First Co-Parenting. The best way you can support the show is by following, rating, and reviewing wherever you listen to podcasts, and by sharing it with another mom who could use the support. You can also connect with me on Instagram and Facebook at Learn with Little House, where I share daily tips and encouragement for moms raising kids through high conflict divorce. And if you're ready to go deep and get more tools, scripts, personalized support, and coaching, come join us inside the Kids First Co-Parenting community. You'll find the details at learnwithlittlehhouse.com. Until next time, remember, your kids don't need you to be perfect. They just need you to be steady and grounded, and as always, to put them first. Thanks for being here.